What's going on, guys, and welcome back. So we actually had a request for this, but we were working on it as well. We did do our tier list for this upcoming format post Syac. We also did our hand trap tier list. Today we're going to dive on into staple tier list. If you want to get some of the best online testing, Dragon Rider Games, links down below. Best place to get testing online. Otherwise, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're going to jump right on into it, and we're going to start on out with Herald of the Abyss. Where do I think Herald of the Abyss ranks headed into Syac? You may notice a small difference between this and the hand trap ranking, where hand trap I had like best, better, good, not good, and side deck, whereas a lot of these are like going second staples, so a lot of decks would probably opt to side them anyway. So I thought about just not even putting the side there. This is just as far as how good are the cards, and then you guys can decide if you want to main deck them or side deck them. Thing to keep in mind too could also determine by, like, say, is it a quick play spell like Boca Moon that you can use going first and going second, or is it something like right here, Herald of the Abyss, where it's just better going second. So Herald of the Abyss, I do want to just, one of the few cards I want to actually talk about a little bit here. So it doesn't make like your card sending them to the grave, like especially with purely. So when you Herald of the Abyss, you pick the attribute and type, and your opponent performs the action of sending it to the graveyard, so it does not trigger the add back 3, summon, all that fun stuff, where they basically just +5 for free. This card is really good because Triple Tactics Thrust can also search it out. But one thing to note, if Purely does set a card, they can go ahead and summon out of the deck the Lily, which has the same statistics as their Noir, so they can actually protect their Noir by opting to send the Lily then instead if they chain it in response. So do keep that in mind, that they do have a way to play around it, and if you're a Purely player, consider setting one of those spells so that you can play around it, especially games 2 and 3. Alpha, the Master of Beasts. Where do we put this? It's basically just a big beat stick. It does obviously have the bounce potential, but that's going to be met by a negate more often than it will not. It is still a 3k beater. It is still a level 8 for decks that care about that. However, in a general sense, I think that it's going to fall into our not great category just based on a lot of the other cards that are here today. Boca Moon, we mentioned it already a little bit, being a quick play spell, so you can use it going first or second. I do like Boca Moon a lot. Like if you Boca Moon their Lily or Purely when they try to use a spell and it to go into the Xyz, obviously they will not be able to. Kind of like, you know, removing it from the field, they will not be able to. So I do think Boca Moon is very good in that aspect. Boca Moon is very good versus Kashtira. It is also very good versus Sprite. I do think Boca Moon will see quite a bit of play. Forbidden Chalice is a quick play spell. Where do I rank it? I'm going to leave it in the good category, however, because I think there's significantly more cards that are better. However, being able to negate your opponent mid-combo is always something that is very good to have. I originally had Change of Heart and Mind Control kind of together. I think Change of Heart is in the better category, Mind Control is in the good category. Main difference being Change of Heart, you can attack with it that turn. Cosmic Cyclone, if we're looking for back row removal, it does not destroy, so that is kind of nice. However, I'm going to leave it in our good category. Dangers, similar to Alpha, I think are going to go in our not great category. They're very good in rank 8 decks. They're very good in level 3 decks. They're very good at putting bodies on board, and they have their neat effects, which are just if discarded. So even versus, say, Kashtira, if they're discarded and banished due to a Rise Heart, they will still trigger to activate. They do not have to go to the graveyard. However, I just think as a whole, if you're putting Dangers into your deck to break boards, there's better cards for it. Not to say certain decks can't use them and abuse them. I just think as a general term, Dangers are not that great. Dark Hole. So mass board wipe is really good, right? Well, Noir being unaffected if it has the materials, and the Shangri-Era also being able to protect itself are things to keep in mind. I have Dark Hole as a good card. I just don't know if I can quite put it any better than that for this moment. Dark Ruler no more. If you're not main decking it, it probably should be in your side deck. I do think it falls into our best category, turning off the big boards. That super heavy samurai. Manadome's board is similar, but it's usually a little smaller, less card in hand. However, very oppressive nonetheless. It will not give you your zones back from a Shangri-La as it already resolved. However, it will prevent them from doing Arise Heart things. Speaking on Arise Heart, Forbidden Droplet, I still think this card is not that great right now. The fact that Noir really doesn't care about it, and the fact that Arise Heart makes it unplayable, and those are probably two of the better decks of the format. I think it's in the not great category. If you're planning on playing against like lots of super heavy, Manadome, Dragon Link, pretty much decks that aren't purely or Kashtira, I would probably move it up into our better best category. However, in the general meta of this format, I'm going to leave it in not great. Book of Eclipse is very nice for taking out big boards. However, unlike Book of Moon, if you go first and you set it, you're also going to book your own board unless you're playing a link-based strategy. And that's just, sometimes it feels really bad when you need to Book of Eclipse your opponent, and then your board goes face down and they draw during the end phase. Econ, where does enemy controller go better? I think it's got multiple uses, whether you're turning them to defense or taking them. Both effects are very good. It is a quick effect, so it can be used going first or second, and maybe that warrants it into our best category, or at the very least the best of the better category. Econ is another card that you can consider in your deck. Running out of breath. XYZ Encore. I know this card was kind of talked about at the beginning. I just don't know if detaching, bouncing, and triggering their cards, especially if they're unaffected, it won't even work on them, but you can use it against, say, a Rise Heart, but then they get the bodies back on board. I think it has some niche uses, but I think XYZ Encore is overshadowed by Herald of the Abyss and some of these other cards. Evenly Matched, it was pretty much a staple, it felt like, but then it almost kind of started to slip down. I think it's kind of like Econ, towards the top of our better category, but not quite into our best. Kashtira Fenrir, assuming it does not get limited on a ban list, is in the better category. This card is very good. It's like Pankratops, however, in my opinion, it is actually better because the body stays on board, so you can continue to use it, and it also searches out another copy of itself. So as a just general staple good card, I think Fenrir is in our better category. Lava Golem, your deck may rely on your normal summons, so it might be kind of hard to place this up here. However, if you can play Lava Golem, I think it will be pretty strong going into the next format. A Rise Heart Pass a lot of the time does not feel like it's quite enough, but with all the hand traps in the format, you might not be able to do much more. If Mind Hacker gets banned, I've also seen double Arise Heart going pretty strong as far as an end board that you can go for instead of 5 zone locking, keeping in mind that Arise Heart's target to banish is not once per, well, it's once per turn, but it's a soft once per turn, meaning it's actually a once per copy. If you put up 2 Arise Hearts, not only do you have double macro in case they kaiju you, if they don't kaiju you, each copy can actually target and banish something. Lightning Storm / Feather Duster. I think they both kind of fall into our good category. I'd definitely put them ahead of Cosmic. I don't know if I can quite put them into the better category. We'll see how much back row develops in the format, but for now they're in our good. Kaijus. Well, like Lava Golem, they are very good at outing cards. However, you might only out 1, not 2, but you can Kaiju a Noir, you can Kaiju a Shangri-La, you can Kaiju a Rise Heart. This card also allows you to do your normal summon and all of your plays as you wish, so I do think Kaijus are still going to be here to stay for a while, and be ready for them. Kurikara, kind of like Kaiju, is very nice because you can still use your normal summon. However, it does require you to let your opponent basically interact with you, and then you tribute off their board after. One thing to note, the revival effect in the end phase can come up very clutch sometimes, especially against, say, Kashtira, when you get the Arise Heart yourself, and then you can start stealing their resources. Keep in mind, if you detach the wrong ones, you may trigger their cards for them, so do not do that. Pankratops, I think, is a worse Fenrir, but it is nice being a quick effect that you can respond directly to. That is the one downside to Fenrir. I'm going to put it near the bottom of our better category. Rygecki. This is another card where I think it's kind of slept on. However, the people I saw doing it, at least at locals playing it, were doing rather well. Rygecki going to go in my better category. Ultimate Slayer. I wish it was time for this card. I still don't think it's this card's time. Noir and Arise Heart being like the biggest two problems of the format. Neither one is bothered by this at all. So that right there means it's not that great. Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. We have Kaijus up here. However, being the spell, being interactable, being able to get negated, I think I need to just put it down in our good category. Maybe we'll put it near the top of good. However, it's an option if you want, especially if you're playing multiple Kaijus. However, I'm just not quite sold on it for this format. Sphere mode, I think we have Kaiju, Lava Golem, Kirikara. I think all three of them are better options, so I'm going to leave Sphere mode in our good category. I just don't see purely, especially putting up enough bodies for Sphere mode to warrant it over Lava Golem. You could say Super Heavy Samurai, Mana Dome, Dragon Link, things like that are going to put up multiples. However, a lot of the time, Lava Golem in those situations will do you just fine, whereas Lava Golem will also be good into like the purely matchup, whereas Sphere mode may not be. Shift you guys around quickly there. Triple Tactic Talent. Where do we put talents? It's again, I'm going to put this in our better category, especially with so many people playing hand traps. If you're on Prosperity, you may not be able to draw two to continue extending. However, you can look at your opponent's hand and rip a card, which is just insane. Triple Tactics Thrust. This card is in my best category. Not only can it search out two of the other cards in this category, obviously if your opponent controls no monsters, you must set a card. I was actually playing Kashtira at locals, and I was playing a Saki one-off Eradicator because I knew how prevalent Sprite and hand traps were in our locals. So I was actually setting Eradicator off my thrust going first, and it was insane. Aside from the fact that almost every time I did it, they had literally 5 monsters, 1 spell in their hand, or 4 monsters because they obviously hand trap me. 4 monsters, 1 spell, unfortunately. But the fact that you can just get to Eradicator, you can get to Harpy's Featherstorm, you can get to Herald of the Abyss, you could get to Dark Ruler, you can get to Evenly Matched, Change of Heart, Triple Tactic Talent, Rygecki, Dark Hole, Feather Duster. There's so many cards you can get to off your thrust. I think thrust is in my best category because of that. These are more interactive staples. One other card I suppose I can just say real quickly, Prosperity is in the best category. Look at 6, grab one of them, will always be in our best category. Let me know down below if you agree with these choices. If you don't, what's too high, what's too low, or what cards did we leave off of the list? If you want to tell us, if you want to keep that secret sauce to yourself, I guess go ahead and be that way. I do not blame you one bit. Until next time, guys, take care. We're starting up our how to beats. We're going to do purely Super Heavy Samurai, Sprite Melfi, Kashtira, and Mana Dome. Those are the 5 planned and in the works already. So stick around for those how to beat guides. And until next time, guys, take care.